This week, I got a question about how to get into early stage investing. Thank you, Jeremy, for the question. There are, of course, multiple ways to tackle this one. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you some of the most common ways. So let's jump right in. Before I begin, the thoughts and opinions expressed in this episode are my own. This show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered investment advice. How to get into angel investing. This is going to be a multi-part answer. And the first thing I'll say is that to invest in private companies in the US, you have to meet what is called accreditation status, which is a fancy way of saying that you have a personal net worth of over $1 million or you have an income greater of $200,000 for at least 2 years, which admittedly is not the lowest bar to enter.
You have to ask, big man. You can't afford it.
I got $4.
If you don't meet these standards and you invest anyway, then you run the risk of a whole litany of legal repercussions, which is another video entirely.
We sue you!
But if you don't meet these criteria, don't fret, there are still ways you can get involved. This first way doesn't actually require that you meet accreditation status. It's through sweat equity, which essentially means that you will work in return for equity. You might have heard the story of the artist who, rather than get paid money for the mural he painted at the Facebook offices, he decided to instead take equity, and he ended up becoming a multi-millionaire. Of course, this is a best case scenario, startups mostly fail, but it's a decent example of how you can exchange labor and can be compensated in equity. Another way is to directly invest in people you know. I'm sure many of you watching will know people who are entrepreneurial, and if you believe in those people, then one way to support them is by investing in their venture.
As a vested investor invests.
One huge caveat here is that you'll want to make sure that the company's set up correctly, and that there is a legitimate paper trail of your investment in the company. If you watch this YouTube channel long enough, you'll quickly learn that some ventures have a way better chance of wielding large returns.
How likely is it for somebody to entrepreneur a consumer electronics hardware company?
Wow. So this is a great question.
So be sure to educate yourself and play out the possible scenarios before investing in friends or family. The third way is via syndicates, which is essentially a group of people who combine their money together to be able to make meaningful contributions to a startup, such that despite not contributing tons of money, as little as $1,000 per investment, people like you and I, who may not be multimillionaires, can still get in on promising investments.
Should be about $1 a piece.
One of the benefits of a syndicate is that there is no obligation to invest in anything.
I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
So you can pick and choose what opportunities you think are great. This is how I personally invest in startups, and I not only lead a syndicate, link in the show notes, but I also mainly invest small amounts in companies via other syndicates. The benefit of leading a syndicate is that the people who join will have to give you carry, or 20% of the upside in the event of a positive outcome. The reason members, LPs or limited partners, are okay with paying this is that they wouldn't have access to the company if the lead hadn't sourced the deal to begin with. Great startups are very sought after, and you can consider carry a tax for having to do nothing in sourcing the investment opportunity to begin with.
And so, transportation is worth 20%?
They're taking a risk.
Of course, if the investment goes to zero, as most do, you don't pay a penny outside of your initial investment.
Thanks for the tip, Bricktop.
Listen, you fucking fringe. If I throw a dog a bone, I don't want to know if it tastes good or not.
And I should say that the place this occurs most is on AngelList, which is a platform dedicated to helping facilitate these types of transactions, co-founded by Naval Ravikant, who is an incredible individual who you should check out if you're unfamiliar. He has an amazing piece of content called How to Get Rich, which I highly recommend. And if you want to understand this space in greater detail, then Jason Calacanis, a notable investor in Silicon Valley, released the book Angel, which is a great primer in the space. And then the final way I'm going to highlight in this video at least is to invest in startups via funds, which is where you pay people a larger amount of money to invest on your behalf. The idea being that some organizations and individuals have superior knowledge and access than you. So why would you pick the deals when they're in the weeds meeting founders and analyzing companies day in and day out? For funds, having access to pools of capital up front allows them to move fast and gives them an edge when getting into sought after deals where the founders are seeking to close rounds and move fast to get back to work. But what I would generally say is that funds are typically what very wealthy individuals do as a way to diversify their portfolios by segmenting a small amount of their total portfolio to high-risk assets. And as such, this is not something you'll likely do if you're new to startup investing and have a very limited amount to invest, especially given that the best funds are incredibly difficult to get into.
The Sheikh will not see the value in paying above market.
2 and 20 is standard.
Was standard. Not for an investment the size of ours.
It doesn't matter if it's as swole as Dirk Diggler on his first night with Roller Girl. This is one of those rare cases where size doesn't actually matter.
Personally, I enjoy learning about the companies and picking the ones out that I like for myself.
How about this guy? Give me an answer. How about him?
I hope this video has gone some way to answer the question of how to get into startup investing. This was far from comprehensive, so if you have additional follow-on questions, do drop them in the comments below, and I will do follow-up videos on this one. But for now, and until next time, Peace.